Good afternoon. Welcome to the regular meeting of Taber Town Council on April 8th, 3:30. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And before we can adopt the agenda, if council has read their agenda package, they will notice that our first item in closed session is an item that we have already discussed in the last 6 months. This organization has asked that we take another look at our decision, and that would require majority or 2/3 of council to bring it back onto the agenda. So just Mr. Armfeld?
Yeah, so your administration would ask for a 2/3 recorded majority vote to adopt the agenda as it is being presented because of the one particular item in closed session. If that is not successful, then we'll be asking for an adoption of the agenda as amended with that particular item off the agenda.
I'll give you a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Tams. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
2/3.
All right. Next item is adoption of the minutes. Mr. Armfeld?
Yeah, so presented for your consideration are the meeting minutes from March the 25th, 2019. Any amendments or errors, please let us know and we'll make those changes.
Questions? Comments? Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I'll make a motion that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on March the 25th, 2019 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay. No business arising from the minutes, so on to bylaws. Item number 5.1.
So a bylaw that we have for you this evening, and I will call Ms. Monks up to present this bylaw. It's second and third reading for a road closure. There's a number of roads here that we have got permission from the minister to proceed forward with second and third reading on. Ms. Monks.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. So this proposed road closure is to accommodate the existing layout and tidy up the excess road right-of-way that's been dedicated in areas of our Eureka Industrial Park. It more accurately reflects the conditions in place and provides for some of the road widening originally taken to be consolidated back into the lotting for future development. It includes areas where we had taken an extended road right-of-way, areas where we've actually constructed a pond and now need to close that portion of roadway. So the public hearing for this road closure was held on September 24th, 2018, as well as council giving first reading to the bylaw. We've circulated adjacent landowners and advertised as required under the Municipal Government Act. We're currently amending a utility provider agreement, and we've received approval finally from the Minister of Transportation. So the final step to endorsing the road plan is for a second and third reading of the bylaw by council. So we would request that.
Questions for Ms. Monks? Councillor Bruin?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that council gives second reading to road closure bylaw 18-2018.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. And then, would anybody like to give third reading to that bylaw? Councillor Garner?
I would like to make a motion that council gives third reading to road closure bylaw 18-2018.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Monks. Okay, on to action items. Item number 6.1, Canadian Award for Financial Reporting.
Yeah, so we have a good news story. I think probably this, I see Mr. Orwa's staff is all coming in. I'm going to very quickly turn this over to you, Your Worship. But essentially, the Canadian Award for Financial Reporting is given to municipalities when they have checked all the boxes with regards to the Public Service Association standards for accounting. And it's amazing. This is third year end that Mr. Orwa has been with us. So this was his initial year end that he did on behalf of the town of Taber back in 2017. So I have the certificate for you. I'm going to present it to you, and then if you would like to present that to Mr. Orwa and his staff.
We do have a recommended motion for that. Councillor Strovos.
Sorry. I'll make the motion that Council accepts the presentation of the Canadian Award for Financial Reporting for its annual report for the year ended December 31st, 2017 to the Finance Department for information purposes.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. All right, item number 6.2, RFP award for a tandem dump truck.
Madam Mayor, Deputy Mayor, I would like to excuse myself as some of the tenders are from my companies that my brothers own, so I will excuse myself from this, please.
Thank you, Councillor Tams.
Yeah, so this is for an award for a tender that's been part of the capital budget. So I'd like to ask Ms. Parsons to come up to make the presentation.
Mayor and councils. So on March 5th, the town of Taber solicited a request for proposal for the tandem truck. The RFP closed on the 19th and proposals were opened at that time. We received 11 proposals. All were received from 3 companies only. In the case of multiple proposals, 2 of the companies, Summit Motors and New West Freightliner, specified the same truck with 5 different truck bodies, so it's the truck body that actually made the difference. Bid prices ranged from $154,395 up to $160,377, all very close. In the case of the truck box, preference was given to the A1 fabrication spec and the Lethbridge truck equipment specifications. And each of these 2 proposals scored highest on the RFP evaluation, scoring a total of 97 out of 100 points. After negotiations with Summit Motors and elimination of the accessories, the flip tarp in particular, we were able to bring the purchase price of the International HV607 with the box being fabricated by A1 Fabrication here in Taber within budget at $153,000. Of those 2, again, those are the lowest prices based on that truck box, so we're recommending going with the low bid of $153,000.
Councillor Strovos.
Yes, Your Worship, to administration here. I noticed that the flip tarp is off. Isn't that something that's mandated to have over gravel loads and whatnot? Is that not an item that's necessary?
Turn that over to Mr. Sheriff.
All of our hauling is done in town. This will not be a highway trip vehicle by any means, so it's not required on our roads. So basically, we're hauling concrete, which you don't have to flip tarp on. Only thing we really got to do is sand, gravel, anything that blows out, and most of that we have bringing in-house from somebody else. So this main work of this truck is for concrete removal, asphalt removal, and that's snow removal, which we don't use tarps for anyway. We don't use them on any of our other tandems, do we? No.
Thanks for your clarification.
Yep.
Questions?
We should point out the difference on this tenders from the Freightliner to the International was the Freightliner truck was $1,500 more.
Almost consistently across.
It's consistently right across the board with all the box vehicles. So we went with the lowest price of the truck.
Councillor Bruin?
Mr. Chair, if I may make the motion, Council awards a tandem truck RFP to Summit Motors Limited utilizing a box fabricated by A1 Fabrication at a total cost of $153,000 with expenses to be taken from the 2019 capital budget.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 6.3, Council Remuneration Policy, C-2. Mr. Armfeldt?
Yes, I'm going to call Mr. Orwa up to handle this policy and procedure. This is getting ready for the this is direction that administration has already received from council, and just formalizing it in the form of this policy and procedure ahead of the budget amendment that we're planning in the next, either the following council meeting or the first one in May. Mr. Orwa?
So now with the policy, I would say not much changes in terms of the policy itself, but specifically to Schedule A, which of course explains the changes which were there and the increases to put us back to exactly where you were before, based on what direction we got from the government, that the 1/3 federal tax exemption will no longer be in place. So it's only Schedule A, and that is the major change that we have in this particular policy.
Questions for Mr. Orwa? Councillor Strobos?
Yes, Mr. Orwa, I'm still not quite totally set in this here. Under the policy statement, item number 4, it says that council remuneration is set in the 4th year. So do we not have to go in and adjust this policy statement? Can we go ahead and do this without adjusting the policy statement?
Now, the one of the reasons why the policy is back here is because the policy goes along with the procedure. And the only thing that is out there is the change in the procedure, which is under Schedule A. That's why I started by saying that we don't have a major policy change, but it's only in Schedule A, which is part of our procedure. And the procedure goes with the policy. So the only thing that changes in that policy will just be the review dates, accompanied with the change in the procedure.
Follow that, Mr. Orwa, but in the administration process, item number 2, it says, upon council establishing the remuneration, the finance department shall set up the appropriate deductions and remit all payroll deductions in accordance with Revenue Canada requirements. Well, we've already set a budgetary process, and now we have to adjust the budget for this. So when I look at these two, the policy and the process together, I'm still not sure whether or not there should be a policy change.
Sorry, Mr. Armfeldt?
For council's consideration, it's probably not totally necessary. It is Schedule A, and that is Schedule A in the procedure. So if council does not want to pass a motion to officially adopt this in the form of the procedure, it's certainly something that I can do in my office, because I do it all the time with a stroke of a pen. I amend procedures all the time, so I could certainly take this one back and do this one in my office. We had put this on here though for council's consideration, so if you would like me to just handle this on my own, I certainly am able to do that through the procedural change.
council's feeling on that. Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I agree with Mr. Armfeldt. Council does not get involved in procedural issues. Council usually gets involved in policies. It's based on the Carver model of governance. I think we can leave it in Mr. Armfeldt's hands.
Thank you. Mr. Armfeldt, does that require a motion then?
Okay. No, it does not, Madam Chairwoman. I will process it as per the procedure.
Thank you, Mr. Orwa. On to item 6.4, Green Shirt Day Proclamation. Oh, do we need a motion? No? We're just going to move on?
No, there's no motion, so
okay.
There's no...
Okay.
The message that I just received is that council didn't want to pass a motion on it. So I'll look after it for you. All right.
Sometimes change their mind. Okay. Sorry. Green Shirt Day Proclamation. Mr. Armfeldt.
Yeah, so the next one we have on the agenda is a recognition of Green Shirt Day. I just want to bring it up. We have a few members of administration that would probably like to come and speak to this. There's a couple of pieces here. One, we'll talk about the Green Shirt Day, and I'll get Miss Brennan to come up and speak to that. And then there's a piece with regards to donations generally of organs and of blood, and I think Mr. Hamilton has a piece to add there. And then Mr. Dusky, I think we'll get you to come just later on and just talk about the actual May Blood Month, just at the when that one happens, is the council information session. So Megan and Brent, if you want to just come up and have a conversation here with council about the importance of organ donation.
Good afternoon, Madam Deputy Mayor and the rest of council. So I don't think I need to really introduce what Green Shirt Day is, other than to say that, of course, it's in memory of Logan Boulet and those that lost their lives and were injured in the Humboldt bus crash, which occurred April 6, 2018. And we've seen a huge outpouring of support for this across the country. And Green Shirt Day was created in memory of the young man who lost his life but gave 6 other lives through organ donation. So if council so chooses to follow through with this proclamation in making April 7th Green Shirt Day throughout the town of Taber, you would be following in the footsteps of not only the Boulet family, but municipalities throughout Canada. And including provinces. The province of Saskatchewan has also followed this proclamation. So in administration's view, we would think this would be within council's purview and following their ideals. And with that, I will I will leave the importance of organ donation to someone who knows it better than I.
Yeah, so organ donation about just over 5 years ago, my wife received a double lung transplant. So the importance of that is huge in our family and community. I know Jack as well has had a liver. So, and also I want to talk about the blood donation. Previous contracts I had with my previous employer, we were able to give blood twice a year. Just leave a little early from work to do that, and just through that, I was able to get 3 other people of my coworkers to become regular donors. So I thought, and the importance of blood is just as much as an organ, because when my girls were in the NICU and they weren't doing so hot, the only thing that brought them back to something stable was blood. And as you sit there as a parent and you watch that blood drip through and go through them, and within hours they turn from a very dark color to back to pink life form. And it's just amazing to see that, and to see my wife come out of a double lung transplant and have that bag there and see that A positive, and I was A positive donor, and just think, wow, that's the blood that's helping save her life. So Dave will talk about exactly his plan of hoping to get more people to become donors. Thank you.
If I could add, I just put you on the spot, and just talk about some of Karen's heritage and legacy in the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
With the dedication.
For sure. So what Karen has done, her lungs were put on the Exevo lung transfusion box. And that's a box that's very new at that time, so it was very scientific. It was just a kind of a trial period. So what happens is they take lungs that were not being able to use, normally thrown away, put them on this box, give them the drugs, oxygen, and blood, and bring them back to 100% and transplant them back in. So after her transplant, she felt she needed to help out with this. So she was on patient advisory boards. She was on the national donation board for that, and helped raise money. We did that on Saturday night by raising some money again at the STARS auction. And this June, they'll name their laboratory in the U of A hospital after Karen. So it'll be the Karen Jane Hamilton Exevo Lung Perfusion Laboratory. So, thank you.
Pretty significant.
Thank you. Mr. Dusky?
Sorry, just at the information for council, RFT time is, and we'll talk about the actual logistics around the blood donation, and ultimately, how it was Mr. Hamilton's idea to bring this to the table during our negotiations, and it's not something that got into the collective agreement, but it was something that management promised to carry through during those negotiations. So Dave's just going to talk about that, but for breaking the two pieces up, this first piece is really just for council's consideration on the designation of April the 7th.
Certainly. Right. Councillor Bruin?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Deputy Mayor, it would be my honor, Mr. Mayor, if that I can make the motion that council proclaims April 7th as Green Shirt Day in the town of Taber and authorizes Mayor Prokoff to sign a declaration at this meeting.
Councillor Strovos?
I think Councillor Bruin wants to correct that and say that you should sign it at this meeting.
I wasn't sure with that.
Yeah, we actually have we do have a new proclamation here. Proclamation with Deputy Mayor Carly Firth designated on it. So the recommended motion could read that authorized by Deputy Mayor Carly Firth at this meeting.
I absolutely agree to that. Do you need a friendly amendment, or?
A friendly amendment always should be processed by one of the council members.
Certainly. Councillor Strovos, would you like?
I'll make the amendment that it reflect our Deputy Mayor Carly Firth.
Councillor Bruin, do you accept that amendment?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously.
We need the camera first. Oh, yeah. Very cool.
Item number 6.5, cat bylaw discussion. Mr. Armfeldt.
Yeah, this was a topic of conversation at the Police Commission, which instigated a report on how the town manages stray felines. There was a conversation that came out of that report and a motion that recommended that come to council. You'll see that Councillor Strovos had made that motion, so I'm hoping that one of the members of the Police Commission speak to this item.
Sir Strovos?
Yes, Your Worship. This originally got brought to us in a coffee with council item where there was a lady that was suggested that we need to do some work on our cat bylaw, and we took to the Police Commission, and because there's some financial matters here, and we weren't sure what other communities were doing, and our discussion led that perhaps if council wants to carry this further, it should be something coming out of council. So it's an open item for council decision whether they want to carry it further or leave it be, because all the information is here. It's clearly that there's not too many communities that have cat bylaws. Whether we have one of the most in-depth ones with our trap and release neuter program. So it's for information. Whether council wants to do anything further.
Questions? Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I agree with Councillor Strovers. We've got a fairly in-depth cat bylaw at the present. I think we should leave well enough alone, and I'm prepared to make a motion. I'll move that council accept this cat bylaw review report for information purposes.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 6.6, Ag for Life Rural Safety Unit donation request. Mr. Armfeldt?
This came from a delegation that never actually appeared at a previous council meeting. So we wrapped this up into a traditional request for a decision for council. There is a request for $1,500 to be given to the Ag for Life Society. That society is a group that's supported by a number of agricultural companies. If you do a little research on Ag for Life, there's kind of the main equipment dealerships and UFA and other such entities, crop production services, types of companies that are contributing to this Ag for Life. And the request came in that the town of Taber may consider donating. And the MD of Taber is listed on their website as being a donator to the Ag for Life Society, and turn it over to council for your consideration.
Questions? Comments? Councillor Tams?
Yes, Madam Deputy Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion because I think it's a good thing. So I would move that council choose to make a donation of $1,500 to the Agriculture for Life for Rural Safety Unit, and for the funds to come from the council discretionary fund.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item number 6.7, Truth and Reconciliation Blanket Exercise. Mr. Armfeldt?
We have been contacted by Ms. Lisa Swinski with regards to her offer of services to do a blanket exercise with council, and it would certainly bring along some members of senior administration, the management team, who are interested. It's a fairly common exercise that's happening in many municipalities around the country, given the direction that has been provided to municipalities and different levels of government through that Truth and Reconciliation process. And so turning it over to council to consider undertaking this, and if you do that, we will put it into motion to make a date happen for that event.
Questions? Comments? Nothing. I, for one, would support taking part in a blanket exercise. I've heard good things about it. From an educational perspective, it just shows a different perspective, and I think it would be an interesting thing to take part in, so I would certainly support that. Any other council members? Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Is this suggestion solely for the benefit of council, or is it for all staff of the municipality, Mr. Armfeldt?
They're looking for, Ms. Swinski's looking for about 15 So it'd be in that neighborhood of council and the senior director team, senior management team here. Yep.
Councilor Brune?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I have no problem with this. It's up to an individual councillor, though, I believe, if they choose to attend or not. But if there's interest in it, I have no problems with it.
Anyone else? Anybody like to make a motion? Anyone? Councillor Strobos?
It's that council directs administration to set up a blanket exercise to be hosted in the town office here at a date to be determined later.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? Councillor Brune?
Is there a place set for it? Will it be at the town office, or will it be at the Parkside Manor somewhere?
Well, probably a space like the green room is actually probably the best space to have it in. You need a little bit. You need to actually have a little bit of space to be able to spread out. Of course, we would take that direction from Ms. Swinsky, but yeah, essentially that's what we need. A room that we could move some tables out of the way on and have some open space.
So if I may, Councillor Joe, if we can make a friendly amendment that we leave that up to staff to choose a location at the site.
Yep. Accepted.
Amended motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Is that defeated?
In a tie, that it becomes defeated. Yes, it's a defeated motion.
On to item number 6.8, information for council.
Mr. Dusky. So now we work awfully hard for a lot of overnight successes here, and this is probably one of them. Dovetailing this blood drive with the Logan Boulet effect proclamation that council just passed. Again, this starts probably about a year and a half ago now when we started those negotiations with CUPE. And Mr. Hamilton's suggestion that he wanted this worked into the collective agreement itself. We discussed about just hosting an opportunity for something like this annually and giving it a try. And so that's what we brought forward for administration to take part in. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Dusky just to talk about the details, please.
Afternoon. So in conjunction with Green Shirt Day, administration has designated the month of May as the blood donation month. And with that, supporting organizations that are participating in that are the Tabor MD, St. Mary's School, and the Kinsmen. So that campaign will be called Together Tabor Saves Lives Blood Drive. So on May 6th, there will be a What's Your Blood Type session in the Recreation Center in the White Room. This is for employees only. Employees can go there from 9 to 11 a.m., get their finger pricked, and they will get told what type of blood they are. And during that time, the Canadian Blood Services staff will be there trying to get the employee to commit to donate some blood. They won't do the donation actually at that point. They will just make a reservation for a later date. So we've also have gotten 3 life buses from Canadian Blood Services to come for May 9th, May 23rd, and May 30th. And they will transport a number of employees that have signed up to donate blood to transport them to Lethbridge Blood Services to actually do the donation. And Mr. Armfeldt has been generous enough to allow employees to do this during work hours. So that bus will come about 9:45 and will return at approximately 1 o'clock. If there's more demand for those 3 buses, we can reserve more buses with more dates. So that's the campaign for town employees. The Tabor MD and St. Mary's, they are doing different things. for the last 2 weeks in April, Blood Services Canada will be in Taber doing a lot of advertising, going to businesses, asking businesses to put a poster in their front window to promote residents of Taber to also participate in the blood drive. They will have to make individual reservations at Canadian Blood Services in Lethbridge.
Councillor Strobos.
Yes, Mr. Dusky, just a question. I know in years gone by, Canadian Blood Services, they used to go into a community and do these right in the community. Do they not do that anymore? Is that...
No, they do not. We talked about that, and they did have a mobile service at one time that they were doing that, but because of costs and budget restrictions, they do not do that any longer.
Thank you.
Councillor Beckery.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Mr. Dusky, I'm in favor of this initiative, of course. It's mother and apple pie issue. However, the RFD says there's no financial implication. If the staff who are being transported to Lethbridge for this donation are getting paid, isn't there financial implication, sir?
Yes, in the sense that they will be getting paid their normal hours. Yes, no additional cost that wouldn't be otherwise incurred if they were working. So,
and on that note, I thought somebody might bring that up. Staff stay here until 4:30 on Christmas Eve, every Christmas Eve, despite the fact that they wish to leave at noon, and many of our neighbors allow their staff to go at noon. Our staff stay until 4:30 at Christmas Eve because that's the end of the workday on Christmas Eve. So for any staff member that wishes to go and take 3 hours and donate blood, I think that's a reasonable consideration to give to staff that work hard, that are dedicated for the town, that are willing to stay here without complaint until 4:30 on Christmas Eve.
Questions? Mr. Dusky? Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. I was not questioning Mr. Umfeld, the veracity, or I was just found it interesting that there's no financial implication, if indeed there is. I'm not questioning it, though.
Councillor Chams?
I, for one, applaud this, and I think it's a great gesture. I'm one of them sad people that had yellow jaundice as an infant, so the blood service don't like my blood. So I've never had the opportunity to be able to donate blood as much as I would have loved to. And with that, Madam Deputy Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion that Council accepts the material received in this agenda item as information and allows the town staff to participate in this.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? I'd just like to say that I think this is great. I'm really pleased that the town is supporting this and transporting and allowing employees to spend their work hours. I'm a regular donor myself, and I'd love to join you guys if you'd have me.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So again, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.9, standing item, council requests. Mr. Arnfelt?
Yeah, this is the opportunity that council has to ask administration any questions that you may wish, or provide us any direction through the form of a motion.
All right. Anybody have anything today?
Everything's working too well, I suppose.
I guess. Everything's going super. Yeah. Don't jinx it. All right. If nobody has anything, then I guess we're on to delegations. There are no delegations. On to media inquiries. Oh. Sorry, Mr.
Trevor, we've had a request that you come up to the mic, actually, when you ask your questions. Your fans at home cannot hear your questions, apparently.
All right.
Seat here.
Thank you, Mr. Bush.
Not hidden over here behind a pillar over here.
Oh, sorry.
Item 6.3 there, I must have missed that. Was there no resolution passed then on that item? Like you guys didn't pass that policy?
No, there was no there was no motion passed.
Right.
The direction from council was just for Mr. Armfeldt to take care of that as a policy.
It's a procedure.
It's
a procedural change. So, in essence, I amend the procedures of the town by one signature. The policies are amended by the mayor's and mine signature. So there was no actual change to that policy. It was the appendices of a procedure that were changed. So, council's direction was clear that they wished for me to do that just simply through the amending of the procedure, which is fine.
So does that have to come back for approval then again? Or is it?
No. So what will happen is that procedure will get amended, and then the ultimate approval will be the passing of the amended budget. Council is looking at amending the budget here to cut some of the revenue requirements for the municipality because our assessment didn't quite match where we had forecast it to be. So with that budget amendment, this will be included in that budget amendment coming in the next month or so.
Okay. I think that clears that up for me. And then just some items pursuant to the item 3.1 there, the minutes of the March 25 meeting. Some of the in-camera resolutions that you guys made. So you guys moved to purchase the Legion parking lot then? Okay. It didn't include a purchase price. You guys have a price for that?
We have negotiated with the Legion and we have determined a price that was under the appraised value. According to the Municipal Government Act, we cannot buy a property for over appraised value. So we set the appraised value and then we negotiated below it.
So what was the appraised value then?
That would be information that you could FOIP and we could see how much of that we would provide to you. But that's within the business interests of the municipality, and those business interests of the municipality don't necessarily have to become public.
Council also selected a site for an animal control facility. That was Lot 42, Block 8, Plan, whatever. What's the street address or the location of that?
It's east of the crematorium. There's a lot it's actually a fairly large industrial lot there that's in between the crematorium and the stormwater treatment pond. So we'll subdivide a portion of that lot off for the animal control facility to go on that parcel, and then still have some lot left over for an industrial use.
Okay. And just as how that resolution read, it said the town was looking to secure the location. So does that mean that the municipality doesn't currently own that site?
The municipality owns it, but it's not, the lot configuration is not to how we want it. So we'll be coming through with a subdivision.
And the only other thing I have a question about would be the cancellation of the Pro Rodeos lease and some of that property over there, the disposal of the property that's on that site. We've had some inquiries from the public regarding that, and frankly, I don't know what's happening there because it's been discussed in camera. So I was just wondering if council has any kind of explanation as to what was behind their decision there and what's maybe happening moving forward.
Well, as most of that discussion was in closed session due to it being a contractual matter, unless anybody would like to speak personally as to their feelings on it, but
that's fine, guys.
Okay.
You don't have to give me an answer. Okay, that's it, guys. Thanks.
Okay, nice to see your face, Trevor.
Yeah.
Turn around for the camera.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay, then I guess we're on to closed session. So I just need a motion to go into closed session.
Deputy Mayor Firth, I'll make the motion that we move into closed session.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.